Well, hey guys, it's Dr. Drake 63 here today, and I've got a new to me Milsurp rifle. One that a lot of guys aren't going to think about when you think about World War II. Normally you think about the M1 Garand, think about the M1 carbine, maybe a 1903 Springfield, and all the various 1911s and so forth from different manufacturers. But this is a true Milsurp 1944, and this is a Mossberg 44 U.S. property. And this was the training rifle that was used typically as part of the introduction to marksmanship program for U.S. Army, Marines, and so forth. And this particular one, again, like I said, is from 1944. And what we're going to do today is do a dive into how this thing's put together, why they went to the Mossberg. Prior to this, they were using the Springfield M22, which is a 22 long rifle, training rifle that was something that was being used for a number of years. The Springfield M22 is a 22 version of the 1903. The reason they went to this, cheaper. And what's kind of interesting is what we think of as cheap or less expensive in 1943, 1944 is a lot different than we do today. But this thing is a beast. It weighs over 8 pounds. As you can see, it's got a very thick, large stock on it, squared off on the bottom. These came originally, the first year of production, 43, were Lyman sights. And this is the Mossberg sight that they went to after that first year of production. They were able to save literally a couple bucks with this type of sight. We're going to show you what kind of accuracy we're able to get at the range with this today. Everything about this is really cool. So like I said, we're going to take a look at this and let you guys see for yourself whether this is something you might be interested in. But this is the Mossberg 44 U.S. property in 22 long rifle. Let's take a look at it. So at first glance, you're going to see here on this trigger guard, which is plastic, that this is a Mossberg original trigger guard. These are plastic. They had finger grooves in them. And if you notice, this one stops a little bit short of the end of the grip there on the buttstock. And I'll explain that. This is what the trigger guard looked like when I got it. You could actually see that gap there due to shrinkage of the plastic over the last 75 plus years. So I did order a replacement aftermarket version. Although I don't intend to use it, I wanted to have one on hand in case I broke that other one making the repair. Also, you notice the magazine. This is the original factory magazine. Holds 7 rounds. I do have a reproduction of one of these coming from gunparts.com, and we'll see how that works. Something that's kind of interesting, you notice this little screw on the bottom. I didn't know what it was for. Well, what it's for is it's a pin that runs up the length of the magazine, and it doesn't allow you to load bullets in there. And the reason is if you're going to use this as a single shot, it basically stops you from loading additional bullets in there. So this thing actually comes out, and if you want to take this to the range and load 7 rounds in there, you need to take that out. Otherwise, that's going to block your follower from traveling down. So kind of an interesting concept. This magazine we found when we started shooting this, it needed a little bit of break-in and had a few function issues with it until it kind of got a little bit of lubrication in there, and then it worked flawlessly. But this is an original factory mag, and like I said, I've got a replacement coming. Kind of interesting. But as you can see, pretty basic construction. It's got a bolt that you know, we think of cheap, and this actually looks like a pretty nice bolt. And how you take this off, I'll show you in a second. You basically pull the trigger with the bolt pulled back, and it allows you to pull it all the way back. But I first thought I'd show you this Mossberg sight. It's a peep sight, and you can see the aperture there, and it's very accurate, and it holds at 0. So here's side screw is for windage, and then elevation is through this one. Now I need to clean this up a little bit better, but it functions beautifully. And what's kind of cool about this is when you store this, you want to put it in your case or whatever, it flips to the side so that it doesn't poke out. So very cool. Like I said, you can kind of see it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but it does its job and holds zero very nicely. Here's your safety. This looks a little orange now, but it used to be bright red, and that's for fire. And flipping over is for safe. So that's all there was to that. Trigger on this is amazing, by the way. Also want to point out that somebody had the bright idea to color fill some of these stampings. I am not a color fill guy, and I actually worked at it to get some of that out using acetone and a brush, and that's stubborn stuff. I don't want to damage the receiver or the bluing on this, which is pretty decent. So I'll probably just go at it a little bit of a time. I don't understand the whole color fill thing, but some guys do it, and that's just the way it is. But Mossberg & Sons, New Haven, Connecticut. So what they did when they came up with this particular design, the Army was looking to save some money. So they went to I believe this is a birch stock with walnut stain, which I'm going to keep. What they did was wanted a simpler, less expensive firearm. I believe they were able to pick these up in 1943, 44 for somewhere in the neighborhood of less than 20 bucks a copy. You can see the front sight here. There's some grooves for it for a front sight hood, and it's been unclear to me whether or not the military version of this was issued with a front sight hood or not. I've actually got one on order. There's a guy on eBay selling them, and we're going to see if it fits and if we like the way it shoots any better. It's got the sling swivel, and that front sling swivel is part of your takedown if you want to take this barrel off. Now, the manual says that you actually need to take the front sight off, drift it out to separate from the stock. I'm not real interested in doing that. But just a beautiful firearm. You can see this one also was drilled and tapped. And this is factory. I don't believe this has ever been used. Drilled and tapped to accept a mount if you wanted to put a scope on that, but that was not the standard issue for training. Now, the reason the Army started grabbing these up, like I said, was cost, and they're reliable, dependable, well built. And Mossberg, when the Army went looking in the early 40s for a replacement for the M22 Springfield for cost reasons, Mossberg already had the Model 44 out for civilian use. And when you look at this, you even see 44 US with that small A. My guess is that they used a lot of parts they already had on hand and then made modifications for the US specification version. And that might explain this front sight, which is clearly, if you look at those grooves there, meant to adapt for a hood or put a hood on there. Now, as I mentioned on this, it's got a real nice trigger. And let's go ahead and show you what the pull weight is on that from the factory. As I like to say, you don't like to dry fire a 22 rim fire. For purposes of something like that, it's not going to hurt it, but you don't want to do it on a regular basis. But let's just get an idea of what our length of pull is going to be here if I can navigate this around. Get a nice firm handle on it. And that comes right in at 5 pounds. Let's try that again. And that's pretty consistently right at about 5 pounds. But there's no travel in it at all or anything like that, so you really don't feel that. Now, to get the bolt out, I'm going to swing this rear sight post out of the way, and you pull it back, and basically you depress the trigger, and that allows the bolt to come right out. And as you can see, well-made type of affair, double extractors like you would expect, and so forth. And didn't really need to do much to this. Of course, I gave it a lube job. You can actually unscrew this part and service the internals, which I may do at some point, but not interested in doing that today. But for something that was made in 1944, I would have to say that this is in great shape. I don't know how much use has been seen from this. But to put the bolt back in, you do the same thing. You depress the trigger, the bolt slides right in. That appears to be in very good shape. Ran a bore snake down this before and after use. A fairly simple affair. I think the fact that, number one, this was made well and it's got such a heavy barrel on such a heavy stock lends to the accuracy, as does peep sight shooting, for sure. But the whole thought here was guys that had never shot a firearm before, if you were to hand them a 30-06, they're likely to develop some bad habits. And so that's why you had a 22 trainer to begin with. The bluing's in nice condition. I don't know what percent you'd call it. I don't know how people do that, but bluing's in nice condition for sure. Take a look down the bore. Try not to get too much of that light right in your face. But you can see that's a nice shiny bore down there. Good shape, crown looks good. Explains the accuracy. Now this is a really fun gun to shoot. It's obviously more of a bench rest type of gun due to the weight. You're also going to see the ejection here. It looks like there's multiple cartridges coming out with the slow-mo effect, but it's just one at a time, trust me. But it does give a very nice positive ejection. And like I said, the trigger's very predictable. I was surprised it was 5 pounds, guys, to be honest. I would have thought it was less. Here we started out doing our shooting with hollow point mini mag, and you can see where I was just starting at the top and working my way down with elevation. And here we switched to some less expensive stuff, and here's the kind of results we were getting from that. All of this, by the way, 7-shot groups. Now we switched to the CCI mini mags, which were the round nose. And as you can see, we're getting some pretty decent results. All in all, I'd have to say this rifle, probably with a scope, is going to be as accurate of a 22 as you will find. I'm just getting used to the peep sights. I don't have a lot of experience with them, but as you can see, some very nice 7-shot groups. And I don't feel bad about that at all. My son also enjoyed shooting this firearm and was also having some very good success himself. So overall, just a lot of fun at the range and enjoy it immensely. Now, I recently did a video about this brand new CZ 457 and shooting that with open sights. You can see I did no better, maybe not quite as well as I did with the Mossy 44. I think a lot of the reason that was I was using an open tangent kind of thing, more like a buckhorn. Now, I'd also like to give a shout out to a friend of mine. His name is Norbert Carter. He has a YouTube channel under the name of Nibs Carter, and I'll go ahead and post that link right up here with a card. It's also in the comments section. Norb was a good resource for me when I was looking at this particular firearm from a knowledge-based standpoint, and I don't know anybody personally that has more 22s or knows more about the 22 rimfire than Nibs. So suggest you check out his channel if you like that kind of content. If you like a so-called mature guy like me that's not going to yell and scream at you during the video, then you'll definitely like his channel. He's got quite a bit of content. Anyway, great gun, very much fun. I never thought I'd be a guy getting too excited about 22s, but I'm finding out with combination of ammo shortage, ammo cost, as well as it's winter time and I'm 3 weeks out from a knee replacement, that just taking your sweet time and sitting down and working on accuracy with a 22 can be a lot of fun. and I've been enjoying it. So you saw my recent video about the CZ 457. When I asked some folks I knew, hey, what's comparable to that in accuracy? I saw all sorts of different stuff, Anschutz, all sorts of things you could spend more money. But a number of people said, get your hands on one of these. It's a remarkably accurate platform, and they're fun to shoot, and boy, were they right. So if you do get a chance to pick something up like this, look around on the gun boards, look around on arms list, places like that. That's where I found it, and really glad I did. This is Dr. Drake 63. I want to thank you for watching today, as always. Thanks for joining me on the channel. Keep shooting, guys. Shoot straight. Be safe. We'll see you soon.